it's telling me that the video, for some reason, on my end is bad. So I don't know why. So we might just have to crack on. Um, but anyway, so I'll introduce myself. So I'm Alex, and I'm the sales director at Mike's Dive Store, which is one of the UK's biggest dive stores. And we're doing a few sessions over the dive show just to really kind of talk to some of the top manufacturers, just have a little bit of a chat with them about some of their products. And in this particular instance, talk a little bit about UK diving. So really, really pleased that we've got Dom from Fourth Element, which is one of the sort of like big diving brands in the UK. So I thought, probably a good way to start, Dom, is if you kind of tell us a little bit about yourself and what you do at Fourth Element.
Yeah, sure. So I am Dom. I work for Fourth Element, not Aqualung, and I'm a UK accounts manager. So I deal with the UK trade side of things as well as the trade and commercial sectors as well. So I'm also a diver. Obviously, I've been diving for about 12 years now. I was a staff instructor for about 5 of those years, mostly abroad, certified a couple hundred people abroad, then came back here and carried on doing the same thing, really. Then also became a commercial diver. So I'm a commercial diver as well, and I still do the odd offshore trip on top of working for Fourth Element.
Oh, nice. Is that sort of saturation stuff?
Not sat, no. That's a little bit further beyond my qualifications, but just a bit of offshore archaeology and inshore civil work.
Fair enough. So yeah, you mentioned obviously UK diving. Do you kind of get to do much UK diving these days?
Yeah, I mean, obviously there's always scope for more, but lucky enough to live way down in Cornwall, where the coast is about 5 minutes away all the time, and there are loads of awesome places to dive. So yeah, thankfully do still get to get in the water. We've got Porthcaris down here, which is a fantastic dive site, and we've got its sister Free Beach right next to it, Porth Houstock, which is also fantastic. And of course you've got Plymouth just up the road with loads of great wrecks and other dive sites as well.
And what for you is the sort of big draw for UK diving? What is it that I guess people often, I guess people often have sort of like a negative perception of UK diving, but for you, what's the big draw about it?
Well, I mean, it's very different. It's not the same as your tropical diving. The water's obviously not warm and the visibility is not as good, but there's a lot of great stuff to see in the UK that you can't see elsewhere. I mean, we've got loads of wrecks, tons of them, all around the coastline, especially down here in Cornwall and Devon along the south coast. We've got some fantastic sea life as well. Dolphins, really big meaty dolphins that you come across if you go diving in Portland or something like that. Seals, which are just like taking your dog for a walk underwater, which is an incredible experience. It's a different perspective really on something which you may have done somewhere else in a different way. It's not better or worse than anywhere else. It's different. It's UK, and the UK diving is really good. It's really fun. So I think people should give it a try. It might be a bit cold to start with, or it might look a bit off-putting, but once you get stuck in, there really is a lot to it. So I think it's definitely.
Yeah, I agree with that. I think it's. I remember seeing like a nautical map of the UK where they mark all the shipwrecks, and it's almost, if you zoomed out, it would be as if somebody had drawn a black line, around the entire island. So there really is an incredible amount of wrecks out there. Yeah. To the point that lots of people will regularly kind of go out on a weekend, won't they, and dive new wrecks, that haven't been dived before. Every year you can join these kind of little wreck expeditions, and the skippers will just go out and dive an unknown mark. And I think that's certainly something that I think people don't always know about UK diving, is how much actual genuine exploration you can actually do. You can actually dive a wreck that no one else has been on before. And certainly a mate of mine, I always remember a few years ago, he went and did a dive on an unknown mark, and it turned out to be a U-boat. And they actually found plates with sort of like, Nazi emblems on them and that kind of thing. I mean, just like incredible stuff like that. But I guess sort of in terms of kind of, the kit, you guys are obviously a manufacturer. So what's the, for you, what's like, I guess, like the most important piece of equipment that you need for UK diving?
Well, I think the thermal protection, when you're getting cold, especially if it's around the winter time, then really thermal protection is going to be the most important thing. I mean, obviously everything is important. It's all life support gear, but you can't go diving if you're not warm. So really, I think that our thermal range and so on is going to be your go-to. You need something nice and warm and toasty. If you look around the UK dive sites, you'll see loads of our stuff. I think that the Arctics, Fourth Element Arctics, are probably the most common product that you'll see around. So that's probably your go-to.
Yeah.
That's a good starting point for some thermals in the UK, I think.
Yeah, absolutely. And do you do what about sort of like, I guess, wetsuits versus dry suits in the UK? Where do you stand on that one?
Well, there's always going to be people that want to dive in a wetsuit. And I was one of those people for quite a long time. I think it's a little bit cold, to be honest with you. I think in the summer months, you can get away with something like a 7mm wetsuit, or perhaps a 7mm with a hooded vest underneath it. But if you want to dive year round, I don't think really a wetsuit is feasible. I think you're going to have to go dry suit. So it depends on you. It depends what kind of diving you want to do, how deep you want to go as well. Obviously, the deeper you go, the more protection you're going to need. But in general, if you're just going to try it out, or just do it in the summer, then a thick wetsuit might cover you. But I think, to be honest, you want to be looking at our dry suits for the optimal performance. I think something like a neoprene suit like our Hydra is probably going to offer you enough for all year round, a little bit more flexibility in our Argonaut dry suit as well. So there are lots of options for you. But I think, year-round diving, you are going to want to go dry.
Yeah, absolutely. And for those of you who don't know, what's the sort of like what's the difference between a wetsuit and a dry suit? Obviously, apart from the fact that it keeps you dry,
Sure.
but how does it actually what's the difference in how it keeps you warm?
Right. Well, a wetsuit works by trapping a layer of water between your skin and the suit. Your skin then warms up that water, and the suit should keep it there against your body, and that's what keeps you warm when you go diving. So the better a suit is, the longer that water will stay in there, and the less water will come in and out of your various seals around your body. So that's how it works on keeping you warm. That plus the actual insulation of the neoprene itself. When you get to a dry suit, I mean, we do two different types, or there essentially are two different types of dry suit. There's neoprene, and then there's membrane or tri-lam. So a neoprene dry suit is made from, of course, neoprene, similar to what you're going to be used to from a wetsuit. And it's going to offer some protection, thermal protection itself, by nature of what it's made from. And it works, of course, it shouldn't have water inside it, but there's air in there. And that air is going to offer some insulation as well as the suit material itself. So when the air warms up, keeps you nice and warm. Of course, you need some layers underneath it as well to help trap the air nice and close to your body and keep you nice and toasty. But that's the key difference between the wetsuit and the dry suit, is that it's air and clothing that's keeping you warm in the neoprene, the membrane or the tri-lam suit. And in a wetsuit, it's the water that's keeping you warm there.
Yeah. And again, for those who don't know, exactly how dry is a dry suit?
Well, it should be completely dry. I mean, your feet are a part of it. Your hands aren't. They can be. So your hands will be exposed. You'll have wet hands unless you get a dry glove system. But your feet are enclosed, and everything's enclosed up to the neck. So you should be theoretically completely dry underneath that, provided you've not had a leak or anything's gone awry. So apart from your own sweat, there shouldn't be any liquid really inside that suit at all.
Yeah, I just, if you're diving sort of a rental dry suit, it can be a very different experience. I certainly remember some of my early days of training in the UK, diving dry suits that were probably a lot less warm than a wetsuit.
Sure. It does get to that stage, doesn't it? Once they've been around the block a few times. And seals obviously not regularly, but do need to be changed. They can get damaged. So it is possible that you'll get wet in a dry suit, but you shouldn't. And if you do, then it's a fixable problem.
Yeah, absolutely. And there's a couple of sort of like, I guess, basic dry suit styles out there, aren't there? You kind of get the tri-laminate and the neoprene styles. And what's the sort of like, you guys do both, don't you? So what's the sort of main difference of those two suits? Or types of suit?
Well, I'd say that a neoprene suit, as I said, is made from that neoprene material, which is going to keep you warm by itself. I recommend the neoprene suit for somebody who's coming from abroad. They're used to their dive holidays, or they're used to their wetsuit, and they're a little bit put off by what they perceive as the faff or the extra bits and pieces that come with UK diving. So a neoprene suit, our neoprene suit, the Hydra, It's closer fitting. It's a bit more like a wetsuit. Obviously, it's not a wetsuit, but it feels a bit more like a wetsuit in its fit. So already it's what you're used to. And
Yeah.
it's that similar material, of course, that you're used to as well. And you don't need loads of layers underneath it to keep you warm in the UK. So that's the benefits of the neoprene suit there. It keeps you warm in and of itself. You don't need lots of layers underneath it. And it's an easy transition from wetsuit diving to dry suit diving. If you're then looking at a membrane or a tri-lam suit, the expense tends to go up, but you're getting something that's, and ours is completely made to measure and is a little bit more flexible as well. Neoprene, by the nature of the material, it's not super stretchy. It's not something that you can sort of, do really fast front crawl in or something like that. Whereas with membrane suits, because, and especially with ours, because we use two different fabrics in our suit, both of which actually are a bit stretchy, so they've got some give in them. So the suit is made to measure, so it fits you perfectly already. If Christmas comes along, you have a few too many mince pies, or I don't know, maybe a 6-month lockdown or something like that, and you put on a bit of extra weight, you're still going to fit in that suit because there's a bit of stretch to the material. And you get to choose underneath your membrane suit what you want to have, how warm you want to be for each different scenario that you're going to be in. So you'll layer up your thermals underneath the membrane suit because the suit itself isn't going to provide much protection, thermal protection. You'll build up layers underneath your suit to suit the environment that you're going to. So if you want to go to Sulfra, to Iceland, something like that, then you're going to layer up underneath there so you've got plenty to keep you nice and warm. But if you go to the UK in the summer, you're probably going to take off some of those layers and have a bit less, something like the Arctics that we were talking about before. So underneath a neoprene suit, it's not quite as flexible, but it's nice and tough and durable, and it's a nice in-between point. But then your membrane suit, you've got all kinds of customability options, customizable options.
And you guys have a pretty amazing way, don't you, of actually measuring people for your dry suits?
Exactly, yeah. So we use what we call a biomap system, which just uses a couple of photographs of the diver to create essentially a 3D image, which we then base the suit off. So you'll see a lot of people advertising made-to-measure suits, but they're not really made to measure. What they are is off the peg made to measure, which means they've taken a suit that they've got and they've taken your measurements and they've tried to make the two work together. Whereas we've taken your measurements and then made a suit. So it's completely start to finish made to measure. So that's how we work it. And we use this award-winning, no less, biomap technology to create that image of you to get a really accurate fit.
That really is fantastic. I've seen it in action, and compared to a lot of the stuff out there, it sort of looks practically space age, doesn't it? Having somebody stand in front of this booth inside the dive shop. Yeah. So yeah, it's an amazing system. That
very straightforward process, and very very small margin of error there. So it's extremely accurate and much better than having someone get your tape measures out and trying to take all your measurements and hoping that they get it right and everyone down the line gets it right. So yeah, a much easier way of sizing people.
That's right, yeah. Just so I guess like changing the subject ever so slightly, tell us a little bit about some of the sustainability stuff that Fourth Element's involved in. I guess from that sort of undersuit and products where you sort of where some of those materials come from. Really, I mean, it's a pretty amazing thing, I think. So for guys listening, I think Fourth Element absolutely just sort of lead the way in this category.
Yeah, thank you. I mean, yeah, we have tried to. We've been working for quite a long time, really, quite a lot longer than has been trendy, to try and produce something that's better for the planet and something that uses less of the resources and damages the environment to a minimum. So we've got a few different options in that regard. We've come out just recently with the Surface wetsuit, which is a non-neoprene wetsuit. It's made from Ulex, so it's a natural rubber. That we call the words for a sustainable wetsuit, but and we say grown, not made, because it's not a neoprene product. The problem with neoprene, although it's perfect for our uses, diving and surfing or what have you, it's incredibly bad for the environment. There's nothing we can do about that. We need to replace it, really, and that's what we're trying to do gradually. So we've got this Surface suit, which is made from Ulex, which is a 4-3 wetsuit, really nice performance, got a neck entry, so it's really nice and comfortable as well. And we've also got thermocline, which is another wetsuit alternative, another neoprene alternative, which is made from, in part, recycled plastic bottles and recycled plastic fishing nets. So ghost nets that have been floating around the ocean. We are, in fact, on the steering committee of the Global Ghost Gear Initiative, which is the charity, the organization that sends teams out to collect ghost fishing nets that are stuck on wrecks or floating around anywhere in the ocean. Go and collect those, bring them back. Those are shipped off to a factory, broken down to the molecular level, and then reconstituted into a fabric which we make swimwear from, we make the interior of the thermocline from, and we make various other products as well along those lines. So
it really is amazing that, to be able to actually use old nets from the sea to make diving products, I think is just incredible.
Yeah,
and it goes are here actually at the show, aren't they? So I think you can go and have a chat with those guys and visit their booth, because I think a lot of what those guys do, it's amazing, and it's quite exciting diving as well, isn't it? What they do of lifting all these kind of old nets off wrecks and stuff like that. It's amazing stuff.
Yeah, great stuff, and it's great that we can get that in a way. We can get it back into the ocean, but in a more positive way, and that's what we call that line of products ocean positive. So that is our goal really, with the brand, to become ocean positive, so that everything really down the line has that environmental aspect to it, has that recycled element to it, or the environmentally friendly aspect to it as well. But not just that. I mean, we've worked at lots of products that we've come out with along these lines, but we've also set up something called Mission 2020, which was set up a couple of years ago, which was at first our idea to try and make the company a little bit more eco-friendly. We wanted to do something by 2020, which happens to be this year. And our goal was to remove single-use plastic from our distribution, which I think we've pretty much done now. In fact, certainly will have done by the end of the year. So our things come packaged in non-plastic packaging, usually paper or obviously card where we can, and also cassava, which is it looks and feels a little bit like plastic, but it's actually made from a potato starch. So there are all these different options that you can come up with, and once you start trying to research that stuff and start trying to put it into your supply chain, you can make a really big difference. And we have done. And also this Mission 2020, as soon as we started doing it, other people started saying they want to do it as well. So it became an actually industry-wide initiative, which a lot of people signed up for.
The UK, didn't they? It was great.
Yeah, it was great, and so many people signed up for it. Got like GUE signed up, and Bowchat and Blue O2 and Paddy, loads of people, and it's fantastic. And all of these companies have made a commitment to make a change by the end of this year, and that's got to be good for everybody, and it's got to be good for the planet. So we're in it for the long game, and the long game is it's not going to play out unless we take care of our environment. So that's what we're doing.
Yeah, that's fantastic. So we have had a question pop up there, which says, does dry suit diving reduce the need to pee as opposed to wetsuit diving, asking for a friend? That's pretty good. What do you reckon to that one?
It's a valid question. I would say no, not really. You've certainly been in a few situations
there or something like that, which it's like the pressure or something like that when you're in the water that causes the need to pee.
That's it.
But that does give us a nice segue to talk about, well, how do you go to the toilet in a dry suit? That's always a good question.
Sure. Yeah, exactly. And what we offer are pee valves. So this is basically a route to the outside for your pee. You've got like a little plug on your leg there, and then the rest sort of goes and gets connected to you, and then you can just relieve yourself without going inside your suit like you might with a wetsuit, and just let it all out as and when you like.
Yeah, absolutely. And I believe there are options for both men and women.
That's right,
on those
right.
ones. Yes. And John McKeon asks, do you have some good thermal gloves? think you probably do, don't
Yeah,
you?
we certainly do. We've got a whole variety of different types of gloves. I mean, the best thermal option for gloves is going to be dry gloves. That's going to give you the most protection because it not only, keeps your hands nice and warm, but it actually makes your hands part of the whole dry system that you've got there. And the warmth of your body passes to your hands, and the warmth of your hands passes to your body, and everything like that. So that's the best way of going ahead with that, is to get some dry gloves. And we produce the Ellipse dry glove system, which does connect to membrane suits, or can be made to membrane suits. And otherwise, we do offer 3mm and 5mm gloves, and some Kevlar gloves, as well as various glove liners and things like that. So yes, lots of good options for your gloves there.
Right. And I guess to sort of like wrap things up and bring us to a close, where for you, I guess, is the best place in the UK to go diving? What's a kind of a couple of really good options for people to explore if they're ever over here or thinking about giving it a go?
Sure. Well, I would always recommend Cornwall because it's beautiful anyway. It's a beautiful part of the country, and we do have some really nice dives down here, and you can see some great stuff. And you've got basking sharks and dolphins and seals and all of that down here too. So it's a great place. If you can get down to Cornwall for whenever, then do so, because it's great. Another where I've got a really memorable dive is Portland. It's a nice place to dive there as well. I mean, I did a dive there. It was really cold and the visibility was terrible, so it doesn't sell UK diving very well. But I was swimming along, as you do, and then it's maybe a meter max visibility, something like that. And just next to me, just turn, and suddenly there's dolphin, huge dolphin, like massive, just like one great big muscle, just there, just giving me the eye right next to me. Really scared me actually at that moment. I mean, I've done thousands of dives, but still, it's like, oh god. It was quite an experience, but it stayed with me as well. And it was just me on this dive. Really, I was just swimming around this little wreck, and this thing kept following me, kept playing with my fin straps, and kept sort of sizing up, or going up, looking like he was sizing up to me, going upside down and giving me the eye. That was
Wow.
really awesome. And all the dives I've done abroad, I've never had anything like that. You see all kinds of different fish and all kinds of different stuff, but when you get those real close interactions, and an actual mammal to mammal interaction like that, is really special as well, I think. So yeah, that's, I would recommend Cornwall, and I recommend Portland for that reason as well.
I think I'd also have to chuck in the Farne Islands as well, because that's a place where you can go and dive with seals, and it's shallow. You almost always have incredible visibility, and in summertime there, the water's not that cold, and you can be in there in like 5 to 10 meters of water with seals just all around you, interacting with you. And I've been there and sort of been thinking, really, people probably pay literally thousands and thousands of pounds to go to the Galapagos for an experience like this, and it's actually kind of just sitting on our doorstep, just out of tea houses. And of course, another great one is got to be Scapa Flow as well. That's probably like the most famous one, isn't it, with all the German First World War wrecks. And again, you tend to get amazing visibility up there too. So I do think it's that thing, isn't it, that we often sort of hear it's all kind of dark, but actually a lot of time it's not. We get great visibility. And then, of course, the cold thing, it's like that classic thing that they say, there's no such thing as sort of bad weather, is there? There's just the wrong clothes. And I think it's exactly the same with diving.
Yeah, quite right. So loads to see in the UK, really. I think there's no excuse for all these people that have just been going abroad all this time. As you say, it is right here. It's on your doorstep. I think we just have to go and just explore it, really.
Yeah, absolutely. So I think you guys are exhibiting, aren't you, here today? So I think people can go and find you at the Fourth Element booth. And then also Mike's, we're here as well. You can come over to our booth. And there is an offer where if you register with the little click button there, you'll get a 10% discount, which you can use after the show. Plus, you're going to go into a raffle to win a Sunto Zoop as well. So head on over to the Mike's booth, register your interest, and also head on over to the Fourth Element booth as well and check out the product there. You can see their product there, and also at Mike's, we've got pretty much the whole range in stock as well. So I've got one more question there from John McKeon. When is the best time to do Scapa Flow? Well, I would say I've been there in July and August. That's summertime's usually a pretty good time to do it. You tend to get the better visibility and the weather and all the rest of it. But to be honest with you, you can probably go for quite a large chunk of the season. Just the whole point is it's a sheltered area of water. So it kind of Scapa tends to have a bit of a reputation for being a bit sort of like deep and dark and cold and all this kind of stuff. But actually, in UK diving terms, it's quite benign. But obviously, if you haven't done any UK diving before, it's a good idea to sort of warm up to it because it is a little bit deeper up there. But no, it's a great place to go. Great stuff. If there's no more questions, then I think we'll probably wrap this up. So I just want to say massive thanks to Dom. Thanks for coming along and telling us all a little bit about Fourth Element.
Pleasure.
And yeah, we'll see you guys in the booths.
Cheers, then.
All right. Thanks a lot.